Hi everyone. This little video is designed to function as a quick intro to Econ 181, the economics of racism. This is an upper division elective for the econ majors. It also counts toward your upper division GE area D, and it's a race and ethnicity course, so it hits a lot of buttons. There aren't any prerequisites, so you don't have to be an econ major to take it. We will be talking about race and racial disparities through the lens of economics, and we'll talk about what that means. We'll deconstruct the idea of race, and we'll be applying economic lenses to a lot of familiar sort of ways that we might experience or see evidence of disparities. So to do that, we are going to be doing a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and a lot of discussion. I am going to be talking about basic economic models and a lot of economic terminology, but all the way through I'll do my best to make sure that I explain it so that non-economists and people who aren't familiar with that terminology do get a sense of what we mean. When you look at the syllabus, if you haven't already, you'll see there's a lot of readings on there. I do try to keep the list of books you have to buy short though. So what we'll be doing is leaning on a lot of different kinds of media, including podcasts and videos, journal articles from academic journals, and also articles from more traditional, commonly read sources, so news articles sometimes, just to stay in a realm that is accessible to everyone. Of the books that we are requiring, there are a couple of recommended books, and there are 3 books that are required. The first is this book, The Anatomy of Racial Inequality by Glenn Loury. Glenn Loury is an economist. This is a book that applies economic logic to the very specific problem of anti-Black racism in the United States. It's a bit old, but it's really good, and I've just never found anything that substitutes for it. So this will be a mandatory book. We'll read about 3 or 4 chapters out of it together, and it's really important to read. So I really love this book. It's a little bit dense. We will talk about it, but there are just some examples in here that you can't get anywhere else. So that's Loury's Anatomy of Racial Inequality. Another book we'll read is this book. This is Isabel Wilkerson's Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent. Isabel Wilkerson is a writer and a journalist, not an economist, but she writes about race. She writes a lot about the racial history in the United States. And the nice thing about this book is it was pretty popular. You can see this edition has a Oprah's Book Club seal on it, which means a bunch of people have bought and sold this book, so there's lots of copies running around in used book websites and that kind of thing. The other great thing about this book is it's very accessible to read, and it's accessible online. So our library has a digital copy of this that you can download. So you do not need to buy this book unless you want to. I do think it's a great book. Her prose is wonderful. So if you're interested in reading it, that is, of course, always an option. Again, we'll read a handful of chapters out of it, though. So if you are on a tight budget or your space is tight, the digital option might be nice for you. So you don't necessarily need to buy this to be able to read it. There is a digital version online if that works for you. The last book we'll be reading in class is The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together by Heather McGhee. Heather McGhee is not an economist. She's an economics policy advocate. She worked for nonprofit think tanks and then wrote this book based on her experience with economic policy. It's very qualitative in the sense that it's a lot of stories about individual experiences, but she does include a lot of data and statistics and evidence in here, so it's really great. And she really does a great job of kind of going step by step through the sort of different dimensions of daily life that racial disparities touch and how they don't just affect marginalized groups and racial minorities and racial power minorities, but how they actually affect everyone, including just the United States overall. So it's a great book. I really like this book. It's well read. It's well written. And again, none of these are officially textbooks, so this is a book that you might be able to find used at a local bookstore or online at bookfinder.com or something like that. It did make a National Book Award list, so it's a pretty big book in terms of popularity. So that's the other one. There should be a copy on reserve. I'm still in the process of getting all my library reserves put in place. But those are the 3 required books. There are lots of other recommended readings. These are books that we used to read in this class, but we've cut for time and or we've gotten rid of to replace with more modern sources. And so I'm happy to discuss the recommended readings with you. You can go and check out the Canvas site now if you haven't already. You can also take a look at the syllabus, and some of the first assignments will be live. And then we'll talk about class expectations and that kind of thing when we have our first meetings the last week of August. So this class is a Tuesday, Thursday class, so we'll be meeting for the first time on August 27th. In Tahoe 1025. So I look forward to seeing you there. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. You can always email me. Come by my office up here in Tahoe 3029 at Sac State, or shoot me an email at andrea.walters, andrea.walters @csu.edu. Otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you and discussing all of this more. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you later.